Today we're going to talk about how to simplify your startup's messaging to win customers and investors. So let me paint a picture. You have an idea for a great product that could change the market, but that future seems so distant. You're stuck in a cycle of rejected grants, ghosted customers, and unsuccessful investor meetings. Despite your belief in the idea, the response you get from the world is it's not valuable. What's frustrating is the people that hold the keys to your startup's success just don't get it. You attend the pitch workshops, the talks, and the group calls. They're supposed to help you convince these gatekeepers, but it's the same generic advice. You look at your notebook at the end of the night. Be concise, be compelling. But how? It's like getting a map without street names. You know the destination, just not how to get there. So let's put a pin in that for a second. My name is Luke Murphy. My company, Waking Dreams, has helped 20 plus founders launch and market their business with video. I actually launched a tech company myself, and our launch received 6.7 million impressions, international coverage, Lab Bible, RTE, even a morning show in Australia. Unfortunately, my one skill running a tech company was launching, so I left building product to the professionals and decided to help them launch it instead. So we work with several early stage startups. Some have the budget for messaging and others do not. Yet messaging massively impacts video quality. So I wanted to create a tool, and what I created was basically a messaging worksheet that would help startups to develop their messaging by themselves. And this is what it is. So we were looking for feedback from a founder in our network. Let's call her Rachel. And I asked her to review it. And within about 3 hours, Rachel rang me back and said, "Luke, thank you. No one has ever shown me how to simplify my messaging before. And I can't take another talk from an accelerator on how to pitch." So, startups often get advice like simplify your pitch, but how exactly do you do that step by step? That's what we're going to cover in today's talk. Sound good?
Yeah.
Great. So, message is what your customer needs to know to buy. So, messaging matters. This is an actual stat. 34% of startups fail because of poor product market fit. Products have many uses, but it's not useful until we show someone how to use it to change their life in a big or small way. Now, this is a stat that I made up from my own experience, albeit. 90% of startups, or just businesses in general, do not consider how persuasive or concise their pitch is before they put it in a big, expensive video, and then customers aren't convinced that this product will work for them. What does good messaging look like? Well, what are the 3 things you need to know about Netflix? You can watch these films and TV shows unlimited online. You can watch from anywhere with any device. And you can cancel anytime, and here are our low-cost plans. It's simple, it's consistent, it resonated with everyone, and it created a $270 billion plus company. You better believe that they act like putting these messages everywhere made them that money. So, bad messaging. Zune, music the way it wants to be. What? Dead. iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Tangible benefit, Hall of Fame tech product. So, question is, how do we find our messaging? How do we simplify it? And how do we make it pretty before adding it into marketing materials? Firstly, we need to understand, why do we make our messaging complicated? We make things complicated because, number 1, we don't understand them. So I don't know if you've ever been explaining a concept to your friend, you start to notice yourself stuttering, and then you're like, I actually don't really understand this concept as well as I thought. The same happens to startup founders when they're pitching their idea for about the first 5 years. So we might understand them better than others, and we're left with the curse of knowledge. Sometimes we know things so well that we just can't understand why these idiots don't get it. It's why great doers are often bad teachers. And sometimes we just don't understand our customer. If our product is like a ball in space, we see it from one angle while our customers see it from another. What we need to do is empathize with them, try and shuffle over to their position and see it as they do. We can do that through customer interviews, surveys, conversations, product research, looking at customer reviews. The entire field of customer research was invented for this reason. Another reason that we make things complicated is because we use jargon. But why do we use jargon? Sometimes it's faster. It's faster for me to say aspect ratio as opposed to the size of the video frame. And many outside media won't understand what that means. It's shorthand. Sometimes there's no alternative. So we need to actually come up with a new phrase for public use, like Wi-Fi, which is a wireless signal that allows computers to communicate over a network. And then jargon also gives us some degree of status and credibility from peers. Even when we're new to a field, we feel a sense of competence just by knowing the language. It's like a cool new language that mom and dad don't understand. So we do need to describe our business, though, in a way that outsiders can understand, because we need to work with investors, customers, agencies, and staff. So, final reason why we make things complicated, we're trying to one-up our competitors. So a lot of startups are trying to differentiate at the moment by being everything our competitors do plus AI. Really, clear messaging actually comes more down to what's not included as opposed to what is included. If we look at Netflix's messaging again, it differs very little from other streaming platforms. The main point of difference is the specific content on the platform. And they make sure that that content stands out in their messaging. I mean, look at these guerrilla marketing examples from different parts of the world. It doesn't need to be more, it just needs to be better. So how can we unjumble our messaging? Finally, well, here's how. We created a free tool that allows startups to rewrite their messaging in an hour and update it for life. This is the messaging hierarchy that we use. This is to focus on the most important messages. So if you use us, how does your life change? Why us versus competitors? Why should we be trusted? And what do we do in plain English? So once we document it, we're then going to simplify it. And then we're going to make it resonate, which just basically means we're going to make it stick in people's heads. So what will we do to simplify our message? So we are going to decrease the reading level. So you can use tools like Hemingway or even GPT to check and change the reading level of your messaging. So grade 9 or lower is good. Netflix, they need as many people as possible to understand their messaging. They write in very simple English. I put it through a check here, grade 1. We're going to shorten our sentences. You can use Grammarly Premium to check for your concision. We're going to use the minimum number of words possible. We're going to use plain English if possible. And we're going to give breathing room to important messages. Okay, so we have made our message digestible. How do we make it stick? And how do we make our customers change behavior because of it? So, Made to Stick is a fantastic book by Dan and Chip Heath, and they created the success framework to make ideas stick in people's heads. So I couldn't outdo this, so I just am going to summarize it for you instead. S, simple. What do you want your customer to remember? More messages equals less impact per message. It's not about vague taglines. Just think about Netflix again. It's the minimum amount of information your customer needs to know to buy. Once you find that, repeat it. U, unexpected. How can I make my message stand out? The more unexpected a message, the more memorable it will be. Okay, so think about this video here, Dollar Shave Club, F-bomb dropping, crazy, wild, viral video, did it all in one take. They eventually sold to Unilever for $1 billion. Okay, so C, concrete. How do we make it easy to understand? The more real world your message is, the more memorable it will be. Okay, so explain concepts your customers don't understand with concepts they do understand. The iPhone was introduced to the world as an iPod, a phone, and the internet communicator all in one. Okay? C, credible. How do I make my message believable? Okay, so specific details make a message more convincing. So the company Square will let you know that they help 1 million businesses a day with payments. E, emotional. How do we make a customer care about our message? A message about a person will resonate more than a statistic. Now, this graph here is from a real study from Carnegie Mellon University. They showed 2 groups of people. One, a personal story from this, basically a fictional child, Rokia, and they donated twice as much as the group that were just shown a statistic about 1 million people in need. S, stories. What happens next? So a story with mystery will engage people for longer. Okay, so Airbnb's YouTube channel is packed with videos that embody their core message of unique and authentic local experiences. And that what happens next factor in those videos is what makes you book a trip. So we can't cover everything today. We can't cover storytelling, brand, creative thinking, or human psychology. But I hope in these 15 minutes, I've given you a map to better messaging. You take a right on Storytelling Avenue and a left onto Emotional Manipulation Boulevard. Just kidding, don't do that. Now, we do give you a tool and guide to do this for free, but if you're a founder, the question is, do you value your time? Our writers can get you there faster. So what we do is we solidify your pitch to make it click with your target audience. You then use that messaging over and over again on the thousands and thousands of people that will hear it. And inevitably, startups need to revise their messaging. That's why we offer 6 months of free editing revisions after projects are complete. And if you want help with us for messaging, we do have an application form. Just describe your project, mention your deadline, and describe why this messaging service will help you. On the left is the application form for help from us, and on the right is the messaging worksheet for access. Thank you all for listening. If it helps, then I hope to be talking to you. And yeah, I'll take any questions.
We have time for like 1 or 2 questions for Luke, if anyone has any after that presentation.
Yeah, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah,
Look, I was
sure.
wondering which kind of the founders need this kind of business, because all the founders team have the marketing people, right?
Yeah.
So Wen's question is, what sort of founders should this be a consideration for versus what ones just have teams of people that will do it for them?
Yeah, the in-house, yeah.
Good question. So quite early stage, usually just a core team is normally what we work with in terms of early stage founders. Sometimes if there is a marketing team, we work in collaboration with them, and this might be picking out the specific messaging that we're going to use for a specific campaign, so that we're aligned with the marketing team on that.
And a following up question,
Yeah.
Okay, really short. So the message includes all the branding, marketing, just the slogan, right? Or the images?
No, so I would say the messaging is really the core information that your customer needs to know to buy. You then disseminate that into different marketing materials. That's, the brand, the images, the ads, etc. But it's really just trying to get your core message down there. Then you can recycle that in as many different ways as possible. Like even if you look at taglines for big companies, it might be kept for 20 years, but they're going to change eventually. But the reality is the core message of what they're doing, as long as their business stays the same, is going to be fairly similar.
Perfect, thank you.
I think you had your hand up first.
Just a quick question. Have you thought about targeting the PR companies as clients?
Usually we actually work in collaboration with PR companies as well. PR, I think companies work really well as as a kind of additional for distribution of content at the end. They have great networks of newspapers, media outlets that actually help with the launch for the story of it at the start there as well. Yeah.
We have time for one more quick question.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
John Herschel?
Sure. Thanks. Luke, loved seeing how you connected the examples and the frameworks together. I've seen when I work with startups that many of them may not even know some of the aspects of the messaging worksheet. So I'm curious, in your work, what aspects of the worksheet do you see startups be confident about versus be confused about?
So that
that's a good question.
What aspects of the kind of framework do startups actually have confidence about, but versus which ones do they have less confidence about and need more help with?
Great question. A lot is talked about of getting your benefits across and things like that. I think surprisingly, when I've been working through the worksheet, the what do we do specifically, startups have a really hard time trying to condense that down into the most useful information possible. And sometimes it's like we need to get across everything, but that's not actually the case. You just need to get across enough to lead to the next stage of the funnel that you can then give people more information and piecemeal it out. So I think it's the what do we do. Sometimes it's the proof as well, because it's a new company, so there's not a lot of proof. So there's kind of a little bit of a scramble to try and find the right proof that works.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks very much.